guys? Jay again, once for the G.B.B. Shan's on the line with me. Shans, what up?
What up, man?
Manchester United 2-2 against Southampton. That game could have finished a lot worse. Obviously, Southampton get the 2 early goals in the first half, but Manchester United come back and we find the equaliser, but we go into the second half and don't even create a clear chance of note. What do you do? I mean, we show signs of why we're sitting in the position we are in the table by conceding those 2 goals, but then we fight back. Like in most games where we concede first, we seem to find some momentum and we end up going for the game. Shans, what do you put that one down to, man?
One person and one person alone, Rashford. The fact that we got those 2 goals were from Rashford. If it wasn't for him, we would have lost 2-0. Simply as that.
Yep.
So give him ample amounts of time and run in the team. Let him do what he wants, because he's the only one that seems to be, well, between him and Martial, finding the goals and fighting and determined to get us a win. Of course, I'm disappointed that we've come away 2-2 against a team like Southampton. We really should have picked up some points in this game. But to be honest with you, on a day like it was, Southampton got those 2 early goals because they worked hard for it and they were determined to get it. So, like I said in the preview, 50-50 game, and that's what the result ended up reflecting.
Yeah, you weren't wrong. I think in all that you pretty much said there's a few things that we can probably pick out. When we say a team like Southampton, their position in the table doesn't represent the quality that they have, but they've obviously been unlucky. Mark Hughes obviously needed the points as much as Jose did, and it was 2 managers both under pressure coming into a game where the opportunity to win was there for both teams. Obviously, Southampton get that early lead, and they're probably thinking we can cruise it out because Manchester United don't really go for a game. But someone didn't tell Marcus Rashford that, because that boy plays on pride and pride alone, because he knows what it means to wear that shirt, and he's Mancunian through and through, and he just does the business. Never mind how lackluster our team is at the moment, Rashford always steps up and does what needs to be done. Like you pretty much said, between him and Martial, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. They're going out to give their all and try and produce for the team. A lot of other players it can't be said for. Paul Pogba is one of them. He gave the ball away way too many times, and he gave opportunities to the opposition that they didn't need to get. There's quite a few where he pretty much is trying to dribble when it's not required. I'm still a firm believer of you don't dribble in your own half when you're not under pressure. If you're doing it to get out of a tight spot, fair enough. But don't do it when you're not under pressure and you're trying to do something fancy. For what? There's genius in simplicity. Play it simple, be effective, and get the ball away. There's just too many instances where we're doing things that are unnecessary, when a simple pass, will relieve the pressure and give us an opportunity to get on the counter. Playing with a 5-man defense, and obviously all the controversy around Mourinho's picks of putting Matic in the defensive line and McTominay alongside Jones. Why would you play a 5-back with those 2 particular players in that position? I would have thought that he would have gone for a 3-back, played Jones in the middle. You've got Young, you've got Shaw. Play as a 3 defensive back, flood the midfield, and then play the 2 strikers up top. That's probably the only part that I agreed with his formation. Playing 2 strikers up top, which we haven't done pretty much since pre-season, and then you give Lukaku the opportunity to actually bag a goal, because he's playing with Rashford, who's obviously dragging defenders left and right, up and down the field. He's obviously tiring them out. Lukaku can get into position and he can take the opportunity. Again, without Marcus Rashford, we don't come back at all, because everything that was positive went through Rashford. Everything else between Matic and Pogba giving the ball away and not doing their duties, we could have been in a really bad situation. Jose could have seen probably the door if that was the case as well. Because, again, his team selection is not what helped us. It was completely and utterly the brilliance of Marcus Rashford creating those opportunities and helping Lukaku get back into the game. So, he's more pivotal to the goals being scored than the people that actually put them in the goals themselves. I mean, Herrera's goal was beautiful, and Lukaku's, banger from on the edge of the box is probably what he needed for his own confidence. But I can tell you right now that he should be, squarely putting the emphasis on thanking Rashford, and hopefully Rashford gets to have some continuity. He has started obviously a few games consecutively, but hopefully that continues. Any other positives, Shans, that we can take from this? Obviously, we had the opportunity to win. We pulled it back from the death. So I suppose it's a positive point that we take away. But for 45 minutes in the second half to not try anything like we were doing to get those 2 goals back, what do you put that down to?
In the second half, both teams had nullified each other's attacks. So that is, I guess, one positive. But again, it comes from having that back line that we had so flooded, like you said. And everything you mentioned was reiterated by Mourinho in his post-match interview, because he said exactly that. They need to play simple football, and that will get us a win when everyone is doing that. The fact that Pogba tries the fleets of fancy when it's not required, or when he could just get a safe pass away, that hindered us in this game.
Yeah.
But look, the positive to take away from this is that Mourinho is not as bullheaded as we thought. He is open to changing tactics and seeing different ways of playing and bringing in players that haven't played as of late, which is a positive sign for me, because if players like the Sanchez, Matic, Mata, if they're not in form, but you're paying them a certain wage, doesn't mean you have to play them every week. So that was one thing I thought, okay, perfect. We've got a manager that's open to a little bit of play.
You got to say, though, it's also out of necessity that he's playing them. With Smalling being injured, apparently Bailly's injured. We know Rojo's injured. Valencia's injured. Sanchez is apparently injured as well. So, yes, I understand what you're saying by bringing these players in. But he's got players that he can play in those positions that are more natural than the ones that he's shoving these square pegs in round holes with putting McTominay in defense and Matic in defense. It's also because of necessity, because he doesn't have the players, because we've got so many players out with injury. But definitely, obviously, using Herrera, using McTominay, and giving them an opportunity to show what they can do, albeit out of position. You're not going to get them at their absolute best because you're playing them in a makeshift position. We obviously had Delo on the bench, who could have come in and played a defensive role as a defender. Would have been a better option than McTominay. Play Darmian. So we do have defenders there. He could have played Shaw, Jones, Darmian, and Delo. Yes, it's a lot of inexperience, but given where Southampton is sitting in the table, give those kids the opportunity. Let them have a run. Let them have that time to show what they can do. At least they're bona fide defenders, as opposed to putting McTominay and Matic there. Sorry, Shan's, go on with your point. I just thought.
No, you're adding to what I was saying, in the fact that yes, I was going to get to the fact that out of necessity we did play those players in those positions. But to have, say for instance, a 3-back where Jones is the centre back when he hasn't played a lot of games this season and gotten a run of games together. Either way, no matter what Mourinho did in picking the team, it was a gamble. Thankfully, as we've been saying, Rashford was in the squad and got us a draw. But that's not to say that Mourinho's hands aren't tied behind his back. So, look, moving forward, once a couple of players get back in the squad and they've come over their injuries, that'll be the really telling sign that if Mourinho were to change tactics or change the way that we see out a game, what our team is really made of.
Yeah, I agree. Well, he's got another conundrum on his hands because now Ashley Young obviously got a yellow card, which means he's suspended for the next game, so he won't be featuring against Arsenal. Mourinho says that Bailly and Smalling will be available, but who knows? So he could have exactly the same situation, if not worse, against Arsenal. And is he going to play a five-man back again? I think the reason that we conceded those goals is exactly what you said. You got Jones playing in the middle that hasn't had a run of games, so you need him to actually be the leader and conducting the defenders to his left and to his right, and then you've got defenders to his left and his right, which are not actual defenders. You got midfielders makeshift playing back, so there's all this confusion. Playing a five-man defense doesn't mean that you're going to be more solid in defense. It means that everyone's still going to play their role, and positioning is key. So when you got three players within the 18 area, you still got to think that there are spaces to get in between if players are not covering and falling back in. So if Matic is thinking, okay, Jones is going to pick him up, Jones is thinking Matic is going to pick him up because they're so close together, but the player still breaks through and gets a shot off, and that's the problem. That's exactly what we saw for the first goal. No one was committing to a challenge to try and take the ball away. Instead, the ball does a little ping pong in the box and it gets played around until the shot comes. That doesn't happen when you got a two-man defense and they clearly know, I've got the left-hand side, you've got the right-hand side, and take the ball out. At one point, I'm pretty sure when that ball came in and the player was, I can't remember who it was, but he had his back to goal, there was pretty much three defenders standing on him, but none of them are committing to try and take the ball away. He gets the pass off to his left, and it gets run across and the shot comes, goal. So having more people in defense doesn't mean that you're going to be more solid defensively. It means that those players need to understand that they still got to take up positions and someone needs to commit to a challenge to get rid of the ball. When everyone's standing back expecting the next man to make the challenge and get rid of the ball, that's exactly what happens. The ball slips away because the three of them are pretty much crowding that man with the ball. The runner comes through, picks up the ball and gets a shot off. If they're not defenders, they're not thinking like defenders, they're not going to get into the positions that defenders need to get into. I do obviously expect more from Matic, who's, more seasoned than everyone in the team, to obviously make those decisions. But we've seen as of late that Matic has probably been one of the worst offenders for not picking up his man, for not tracking back, and for not making tackles when they're necessary. Pogba, obviously, on the other hand, when you need him to be creative and you need him to spark something, he does it in our half, and instead of creating something, loses the ball and creates for the other team. It's got to be something that needs to change in the way that we're thinking. Either good for us or bad for us, but the January transfer window is a month away. So the opportunity to strengthen and bring in more quality is coming, but whether the board is going to back Mourinho or whether they're going to do to him what they did before the season started and withhold money or not get the players that he wants to build a team that he wants, we could be in more trouble than we are now, because players that are not happy with the way that we're currently playing have the opportunity to leave, and I don't see a lot of players wanting to come and play the sexy football that Mourinho's playing at the moment, where we sit in the table. So there's a lot of factors that go into this period. Obviously, there's a lot of games that's coming that's going to determine what happens both in the EPL and in the Champions League, albeit that the Champions League is now obviously not until next year that we have another game. But the way that we perform now in this period is going to dictate how we go then. it's probably good that we have qualified and we know that we're pretty much set, because now we can probably attract a couple of players that want to play in the Champions League, and at least we still have it. But 2-2 draws, especially when you're 2-0 down, you got to feel positive about that somewhat, but you just hope for more from the team. Shans and I did our teams obviously before the game. You'll see the teams popping up in our predicted scores, and you'll see that I've got Shannon by 1 point again. So the lead blows out a little bit more, but we'll see how we go in the next game. Obviously, like Jose, we've got a conundrum for who he's going to pick because of all the injuries and, the problems surrounding other players. Suspension for Ashley Young, so he's obviously not going to feature. But it's a big game against Arsenal, and we'll obviously be doing a preview for that one as well. Guys, thanks for joining us. Please comment, subscribe, like, share, and follow. Check us out on all our social media platforms. Shan, thanks for joining me on this one. Guys, and we'll see you for the Arsenal preview. Shot.